What's good? Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. If you're like Black Mask, you're kicking it with a cigar and a whiskey. We're about to talk some Niners today, and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for tuning into the program here. Plenty to discuss. According to a report from Tony Pauline, NFL Insider, this Nick Bosa contract extension could cause him to miss some regular season games. We're going to dive into that crazy report. We're going to take a look at the latest Niners injury news. And of course, we'll talk about the quarterbacks on this roster, Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. But first, I want to call all Niners fans here in the chat. If you bleed red and gold, then I want you to type 49 down below right now. Bang, bang, Niner gang. We have some real ones who are already hanging out, and it's so good to see you all here. I understand there are so many content options out there for you to absorb all of your Niners news. We just appreciate that you're here with us. So, I'm looking at the comment section here. Mario Jimenez, we have Joseph, America, Big Hurt, AJ VHS, K-Nuts, Mr. Blaze, America, Chris, Long Dong Schlong. Very nice, typing that 69. Gene Job, Adrian Avila, John Wallace, Fletch, Brother Man, Ernesto, Chris, Lucis, Luscious, Ricky Wright, Jimmy Ortega, Derek Spears, Mr. Blaze, I Feel You, David Corona, Xavier Cedeno, B. Cooper. I'm also curious here, if you subscribe for the first time during our watch party over the weekend on Sunday, are you here for the first time? If that's the case, I want you to type me. I just want to see who our new subscribers are. We're going to talk Brock Purdy today with him and Trey Lance and this whole quarterback situation. It's honestly one of the more fascinating ongoing storylines among all teams in the National Football League. Just because San Francisco is a Super Bowl contender with a loaded roster, yet there are so many looming question marks at that quarterback spot. But this in particular is a good bit of Niners news on the Brock Purdy injury front, because going into training camp, he was cleared without restrictions for camp. The 49ers, though, to start training camp, implemented limitations for him at the start of all of these practices. But starting this week, Purdy will not be on a pitch count. So now officially he is fully cleared. Kyle Shanahan saying this yesterday, that's off. No more limitations. So he'll get to go the 3 practices in a row this week that did start with the practice today. We'll pass along some observations on that front throughout the show today. And of course, the Niners will practice twice more tomorrow and then on Thursday in the lead up to Saturday's preseason game against the Denver Broncos. Niners empire is worldwide. That's always evidenced by everybody in the comment section here. Tune into the show from literally all across the globe. So right now, where are you watching from? I want you to let me know. In the meantime, Mickey Cheese tuned into our watch party for the first time. Donald Page tuned into the watch party for the first time as well. Now they're hanging out for our live show. It's always good to welcome in some new members of the faithful family here at Chat Sports. As for where people are watching from, we're coming to you from our Chat Sports studios. Mr. Black Ice is in Akron, Ohio, Illinois, Tacoma, Monterey County, California, Ernesto, Tucson, Arizona, Vegas from the homie Draco Pimpin, Big Hurt, Richmond, Virginia, Christopher, West Virginia, the homie Steve is in Pennsylvania, Laura's in Hamilton City, California. Laura, I don't know if I saw you during our watch party. Where were you? Edinburgh, Scotland, from Fletch, Niner Empire worldwide, as it says right here. I told you I wasn't lying. I never lie to the faithful. Fulton, Charleston, South Carolina, Harrisburg, North Carolina from Derek, El Paso, Corona, Mesa, Arizona. It's one of my favorite questions. The Bowtie Chaplain is back. Burlington is in the building, and the Bowtie Chaplain is in the building as well. Now, for those of you who are piling into the show for the first time, or if you look down and you haven't subscribed to the show, make sure you subscribe right now. We're approaching 83,000 subscribers, and it's my hope with all of the content that we push out with all of the live shows and watch parties that we do all throughout this year, at some point during the regular season or in the playoffs, we can get to 100,000 subscribers. Because if we get there, that means that YouTube is going to send us a silver plaque to celebrate that great milestone. So hit that sub button right now, especially if you're looking for informative, entertaining, insightful, real, unbiased Niners coverage right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. You can go places where there aren't bold opinions and boring analysis. That's not us here, right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Another watch party is coming up this weekend on Saturday. Last weekend it was Sunday. This weekend it is Saturday. Preseason game number 2. The Niners returning to Levi Stadium. First time that the faithful will be able to see and root on their football team for 2023. Hosting the Denver Broncos and the fraud Russell Wilson. Our watch party starts 7:30 p.m. Eastern. 4:30 out on the West Coast. That's an hour pregame show once again, so make sure you come and hang out with us. As for that Nick Bosa update, we're going to expand on this here in a little while, but this is the snippet of that portion of the show. According to a report, Nick Bosa's contract extension and the situation with it could cause him to miss part of the regular season. This coming from Tony Pauline here. The situation with Nick Bosa and Chris Jones, more complicated and likely won't be resolved anytime soon. Sources say there's been very little communication between the player representatives and their respective teams. Both Bosa and Jones are looking for a contract that would match or exceed the deal signed by Aaron Donald, a future Hall of Famer. Donald signed a 3-year, $95 million deal, $30 million which will be paid out this season. Sources tell me the Bosa situation could last a while, and it's not out of the question that the 3-time Pro Bowler, Rookie of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year last year could miss the start of the regular season due to the contractual dispute. So with that, let's toss up this question here. Are you hitting the panic button with Nick Bosa? You can panic, I'm not. And I'm going to explain why I'm not going to hit the panic button in just a few moments here on our live show. But not yet am I hitting that panic button. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Mr. Black Ice, no. Elvin Santiago, yes. Lure, no. Randy Daytona said, trade this chump. Are you kidding me? Best defensive player last year in the NFL. Big Hurt said yes. Kersey said yes. Bowtie Chaplin is back saying, I hit the panic button with our offensive line. I agree. Raymond, no. Arlister, no. Michael, no. Mickey Cheese, no. Chris said he is Hish. Do you mean he is him? Steven Sanchez saying no. And then Jaden Jenkins, yes. Also, this is quite interesting here. Who should be QB2? That's our live poll question for the show today. 67% Sam Darnold, 33% Trey Lance. We're going to talk about Trey Lance here in just a little while. I also have to give a special shout out to our boy Black Mask. He's been one of our Super Chat MVPs over the last couple of weeks. It probably ranges out to about a month. He may or may not have been shadow banned during our watch party over the weekend, but we're not going to let him be shadow banned. He sent in a couple of Super Chats. Somehow they didn't come through, but we're going to give love. And we're going to give a shout out to our boy Black Mask because even though those Super Chats didn't come through, we appreciate him for supporting the show. So I want everybody right now to type BM down below in the comments section. He emailed me. He even told me, look, it's all good, brother. It's not a big deal, but I got to give you a shout, my brother. And you were hanging out before we went live, and you said that you're just kicking it with a cigar and a whiskey. I don't know about y'all. Makes me want to go home and kick it with a cigar and a whiskey. Here's our Super Chat menu for today. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10, you get to sign the lunch pail. This thing's getting filled out. We're going to auction it away during our 3rd preseason game. It's my hope that we can get it fully filled up by that point. $20, we'll do 20 push-ups. $50 for a beer bong. And if you send in a Super Chat, $100 or more, you enter the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. That is a single solo Super Chat of $100 or more. 3 people are a member of the Goldmine Hall of Fame as of Sunday's game. Actually 2. Gump Wolf and Double B Studio. So if you send in a $100 super chat, you enter the Goldmine Hall of Fame. This could be you next. Who's mining with us next? You send in a super chat, $100 or more, you will enter the Goldmine Hall of Fame. What I'm doing is I'm going to order a Niners poster, and everybody all throughout the season who sends in a $100 super chat will put your name on there. It's the elite club on the San Francisco 49ers Report. So if you want to join the elite club here on the Niners Report, you can mine with us. Trace?
Niners country, let's mine.
Niners country, let's mine. Oh! Black Mask, bang, bang, Niner gang! A $50 super chat. Here is my charge to any team to take Trey Lance. So, Black Mask was saying in the comment section the other day, he wasn't impressed at all by Trey Lance, and he thinks that the Niners should trade him just because of the lack of development for him going into year 3. We've talked ad nauseum about Lance's performance against the Raiders. Some good, some bad, looked like an inexperienced quarterback. I'm starting to get somewhat concerned here that Trey Lance is not a good scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan, and he just doesn't look comfortable right now. Whereas Brock Purdy looks a lot more comfortable. Brock Purdy is quick with his reads, quick to pull the trigger, decisive, knows where to go with the football, whereas Trey Lance seems indecisive and unsure of himself, and that's why he was double clutching, taking some of those sacks during Sunday's game. Elvin Santiago, a $20 super chat. How many games will Bosa miss due to the contract dispute? So, I'm going to answer this in further detail a little bit later. I'm going to say 0. I'm calling cap. I'm calling bluff on that report. I think 0 games is what Nick Bosa misses. And stay tuned. I'm going to explain the reasons as to why. Now, this is what I want you to do right now. We have about 200 people watching live. 44 likes, though. In the snap of my finger, if you're a true, real one and supporter of the Niners Report, we should get to 100 likes. Because we have this many people watching live with only 45 likes. That's a crime. So if you're a real one, I want you to show me right now by hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. I'll also say this to Black Mask. I was talking about the Goldmine Hall of Fame before he sent in that 50. He sends in another 50, and for Black Mask, we're going to put you on the Goldmine Hall of Fame. So if he sends in another 50, we'll put him on the Goldmine Hall of Fame. He probably deserves that already as of right now. But another 50, Goldmine Hall of Fame. I also want to talk about Trey Lance here on today's show, and I want to do something specific where I take your questions solely on Trey Lance, but it doesn't just have to be questions. If you want to rip Trey Lance, if you want to be critical of him, then you could be a part of the show. That's going to be our third and final segment of the program here today. All you have to do right now, get him in. Use the hashtag Lance for our Trey Lance segment today. Elvin, with that, we appreciate that 20. We can take a look at the Super Chat menu here, and then we'll start to get started here. Black Mass said something funny. I think people are laughing in the chat. Slap that like button like it was Chris Rock. That's actually pretty good right there. The whiskey might be talking, but I absolutely love it. All Super Chats get a shout out. $10 or more, you sign the lunch pail. 20 push-ups. That's what I'll do for Elvin, probably after our first segment, just because I know a lot of people want some Niners talk here. 50 for a beer bong, and I'm actually going to go get that ready right now. I'm going to reach over. I'm going to get the beer bong, going to pour this up because Black Mass sent in that 50. And we're going to get this show cracking here. Black Mask, thank you for the 50. A little bit of a darker beer here for today. So, there we go. Black Mask. He's on the Goldmine Hall of Fame. WTF, you had me, Niners Report. Black Mask entering the Goldmine Hall of Fame. And just like that, we're past $100 in Super Chats. We're up to 120 already. Black Mask, our Super Chat MVP. Appreciate you, brother. And here's a beer bong for you. All right. The party never stops on the San Francisco 49ers report. Chris, yes, we owe another beer bong as well as the 20 push-ups. We'll definitely get that going. Draco, getting that lance in. We appreciate that. Elvin, I believe I put you on the lunch pail over the weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking for an ES here. I actually don't know if Elvin's on here. Elvin, we might have to put you on here, brother. I think we do. So I'm going to put Elvin on there. Elvin's going on the lunch pail. And then we'll start the official show here in a moment. We're not starting the official show until we get to 100 likes. We're 12 away, and there is our newest member of the Gold Mine Hall of Fame, our boy Black Mask. We appreciate you, brother. So, Elvin, you're going on the lunch pail. And then Black Mask is obviously already on there because of him continuing to support the show. If you're ready to start the show, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. There's so much to talk about on the docket for today. Nick Bosa, is he going to miss games because of this contract situation? We'll talk Brock Purdy. We'll talk Trey Lance. Latest Niners injury news. It's all about to get started here on the San Francisco 49ers report. Coop, at some point, if you want to get me another beer, we can do another beer bong because we do owe that, and then I owe the 20 push-ups as well. The official show right here live on the San Francisco 49ers report is about to get underway right now. Let's do it. Yeah, but probably not. Yeah, that's a good point. No, good call. Good call. Dave Zobel, what up, brother? I see you. All right, here we go. We're just communicating with Trace. Now we'll get the official show started right now on the San Francisco 49ers report. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers report coming your way on today's show. We're going to take a look at the latest Niners injury news heading into preseason game number 2. And of course, as training camp and the preseason continue to move forward, we also have a new Brock Purdy update as far as his injury goes. This is good news for the Niners starting quarterback. Let's start off with the latest Niners injury news. And the next few players who we're about to talk about are all expected to return to practice at some point this week. Let's begin with Robert Beal, the 5th-round pick, edge rusher out of Georgia. He's been out since the start of training camp. Actually hasn't been able to partake in any practices so far. This is a good development for San Francisco and for him. He does have an opportunity to make this 53-man roster. We've talked about this over the last couple of weeks that opposite of Nick Bosa, the other edge rusher spot is a little bit thin. Drake Jackson is an unknown. Cleveland Ferrell's been a bust up to this point. The depth behind those players is somewhat thin. So Robert Beal Jr., intriguing player with a lot of burst and explosiveness coming off that edge spot. Kalia Davis, on the other hand, was a 2022 6th-round pick. Nobody really thought that he was going to be able to play as a rookie because a couple of years ago while playing at UCF, he tore his ACL. There was a chance that he was going to be able to return at the end of last year because he did return to practice. He's also been out since the start of training camp. Undisclosed injuries for Davis as well as Beal because those injuries did happen before the start of camp. And when you look at the Niners defensive line depth chart, as far as starters go, and really you can say this for many position groups for San Francisco, they have one of the most talented rosters in the National Football League. But because they're paying top dollar to a lot of players at multiple positions, they can't afford a lot of quality depth pieces. Now, Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Drake Jackson, those are all very, very good players. And I love the defensive line and the makeup here. As far as the backups go, Cleveland Ferrell, I like him. Kerry Hyder Jr., though, a little bit longer in the tooth. Alex Barrett has had a pretty good camp. I want to see what Robert Beal Jr. can do. Javon Kinlaw honestly got pushed around against the Las Vegas Raiders. Kevin Givens is really the epitome of the Niners finding these defensive linemen, diamond in the rough, developing them over time. T.Y. McGill, certainly a solid player. The starters here in good shape. The backups, though, some question marks. Now to wide receiver. Danny Gray is still fighting for either playing time or a roster spot, especially given how Chris Conley played against the Raiders. He was one of the lone bright spots against Las Vegas. He's a veteran, so it's easy to see why Trey Lance, Sam Darnold went his way, especially because they've been able to rack up a lot of practice reps with a player like that. Danny Gray has something at that wide receiver spot that a lot of people lack on this team. That's that vertical getaway speed. But injuries and drops have been problems for him. He went into last week's joint practices against the Raiders with a slight adductor hip injury. Kyle Shanahan said he kind of re-aggravated that. He's expected back this week as well. Now to Dre Greenlaw, suffered a hamstring ailment last week. He too expected to return to practice this week. So relatively, the San Francisco 49ers are pretty healthy going into week one, at least as of right now. Drake Jackson is going to return because he too had a hamstring injury. These soft tissue injuries on the uptick to a certain degree on this Niners roster. At this point of camp, it does happen. That's the reality of football. And then Elijah Mitchell, he missed the last week and a half with that adductor injury. For him, it's more of a concern because 2 years into the NFL, heading into year 3, he's been injured so often, but he's a really special player when he's able to stay on the field. And this battle for RB2 behind Christian McCaffrey, I think it's under-talked about. I think it's underrated. Elijah Mitchell's been injured so much. So when healthy, he's the RB2 on this team, and one of the better RB2s as far as production and skills go across the NFL, but also on this roster. But if he can't stay healthy, who steps up? Ty Davis-Price, he had some good carries against the Raiders. Jordan Mason had some solid moments, but dropped that screen pass, which was a classic Kyle Shanahan draw-it-up type of play where the shot was there. If J.P. Mason was able to catch that football, there was so much real estate in front of him to pick those yards up, but he dropped it. And really, that was the epitome of how San Francisco played that game against the Raiders. They got punched in the teeth. They didn't look ready to play, and that was an issue. For TDP, has to get better if he wants to see time with picking up the blitz, because he didn't do a good job of that upon rewatching that game against the Raiders on Sunday. You look at this Niners running back depth chart. Christian McCaffrey, he could go for 1,500 to 2,000 all-purpose yards this year as a wide receiver and a back for this team. After that, though, a lot of question marks, of course. George Kittle will not return this week. He is still out with an adductor injury. That's in that groin area. He did do a sit-down interview with NBC Sports Bay Area. This is good because it's not expected to be long-term. And this Niners situation here at the tight end spot, it is in question right now. You know that George Kittle is still an all-pro and the best all-around tight end in the National Football League because of his ability to catch the ball but also block, and he's used as a blocking option in this offense so often because he thrives in that area. But who's going to be the backup tight end? Ross Dwelley did catch that touchdown pass on Sunday after the deflection on that should have been Trey Lance interception. But Ross Dwelley and Charlie Warner are two veterans who just don't really move the needle. Now, San Francisco spent a third-round pick on Cam Latu. He's had an atrocious training camp. He's dropped a lot of passes. Then he actually made a nice catch against the Raiders, then coughed the football up and put the ball on the ground. It's really just been a summary of what his camp has been up to this point, and they drafted him in the third round. He's been a bust up to this point. I understand it's early, but there's a lot of work for him to do. Braden Willis, on the other hand, was drafted in the 6th round out of Oklahoma. He offers more special teams ability. He offers better tackle breaking ability, and he's been the better player. But because he was a 6th round pick, is he going to lose that roster spot to Cam Latu just because of where he was drafted? And then you have Troy Fumagalli, who on tape, may have been the second best tight end for San Francisco during Sunday's game after George Kittle. But because he's been a journeyman for a really long time, is he on the outside looking in? I honestly thought he had a couple of good moments for San Francisco. So the tight end 2, tight end 3 battle, and if the Niners want to hold 4 tight ends on this 53-man roster, is certainly an interesting roster battle for San Francisco. These players are hoped back for week 1. The expectation and the hope is that these players are going to return against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'd say Ray McCloud is doubtful. He suffered a fractured wrist last Tuesday. From that point on, expected to be out about 8 weeks. Now, he said to Kyle Shanahan, I will be back. I'm going to do everything I can to be back. I'd find that to be a big surprise if he's back for week 1 just because of the severity of that injury. But a couple of special teams aces here. George Odom, a former All-Pro special teams player, an SC joint sprain in his shoulder. He's expected to be back week 1. And then Oren Burks with a PCL sprain. Before we continue to move forward on the show, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 83,000 subscribers. And if you want injury news, daily updates, news, rumors, analysis, breaking news, watch parties, live shows, we do it all here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Help us get to 83,000 subs and hit that sub button right now. A programming reminder as well, watch party number 2 of the preseason is coming your way on Saturday right here on the show. The Niners will host the Denver Broncos. Our coverage will begin 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 for those of you on the West Coast. And if you want to bet on this game, no better sportsbook to do it than our sportsbook partner, BetUS. They are offering a 125% deposit bonus. All you have to do, use that link down below. Chatsports.com/49bet, promo code Niners125. What that means is you put in $100 into your account, you get $125 back. That's $225 to game with. The Denver Broncos, 4.5-point favorites or so. The over-under set at 39. Chatsports.com/49bet, promo code Niners125. We round out this particular segment with the latest on Brock Purdy here. So going into camp, he was cleared without restrictions, but then the 49ers implemented limitations for him to start camp. They didn't want him throwing and practicing 3 days in a row. But starting this week, according to head coach Kyle Shanahan, Purdy will not be on a pitch count any longer. So now he is fully cleared for the Niners. That's obviously good news. He's this team's starting quarterback, and he has to start to ramp it up physically a little bit with the regular season less than a month away. The direct quote from Shanahan, those limitations, they are off. So he'll get to go 3 practices in a row this week. That started with a practice on Tuesday. San Francisco will practice on Wednesday and Thursday, off day Friday, and then they're back in action preseason game number 2 against the Denver Broncos on Saturday. As of this recording on Tuesday afternoon, not sure if Purdy is going to start yet, but we will continue to, of course, monitor that situation. Going into Tuesday, Purdy had practiced as a full participant 11 of 14 days, and I'm pretty amazed at how quickly he's come along. This wasn't a full Tommy John restructure to his elbow. It was a repair. Either way, though, this was a partial repair to the ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow, and it happened on March 10th. That's when he underwent that UCL repair surgery. He started throwing a football a couple of months later, May 29th. On July 25th, he was cleared to start training camp, and then the regular season opener coming your way on September 10th. Of course, a watch party for that game as well, right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Now, why Brock Purdy has separated himself from Trey Lance. And again, this isn't a dig at Trey Lance. This is just my honest evaluation, and if you disagree with it, I disagree with you. Why Brock Purdy is beating out Trey Lance to be the team's starting quarterback. He processes the game faster. And we saw that against the Raiders on Sunday, where Trey Lance processed slow. And as part of that, that's why he took a couple of those sacks, because he didn't know where to go with the football, was very unsure of himself. Now, Trey Lance, with those new mechanics, does get rid of the ball a little bit quicker, but Brock Purdy gets rid of the ball faster. And that is really important to do in Kyle Shanahan's offense, because It's just part of the scheme, and it's the backbone of Kyle Shanahan's system. And speaking of Purdy running the system, he just seems to run it a little bit better as compared to Trey Lance. I'm not sure if Trey Lance is a system fit, and that's why I floated out the idea of the Niners maybe dangling Trey Lance out there as a trade candidate, because I'm not sure he fits in this system. Guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, Brock Purdy, they've been able to master it really quickly. It's taken Trey Lance a long time. And Brandon Allen had this quote after the Raiders preseason game where he said, Kyle Shanahan, this is a very quarterback-friendly system, something along those lines. I'm not saying this verbatim, but Kyle Shanahan's system, it's built for a quarterback who can get the ball out quickly and accurately. Trey Lance has struggled to get the ball out fast and accurately. That's why I question the scheme fit here. And with Purdy last year, in those games that he played, going 7-0 up until losing in the NFC Championship game, and I do kind of give him credit for that Dolphins victory because he came in when the Niners were down in replacing Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been accurate. And as part of this system, when Kyle Shanahan schemes these guys wide open and they're running free, you have to be able to hit those receivers in stride so that they don't break their momentum, because if you have to turn around for a ball, it halts your momentum and picking up yards after the catch. And when you're scheming guys wide open, some of those explosive plays come when you hit your receivers in stride. Purdy did that at a really, really good level last year. And look, I think the experience at Iowa State for Purdy has certainly helped him as compared to hurting Trey Lance. Trey Lance seems to be so inexperienced, so raw. The one thing that he needs clearly is consistent reps. I'm just not sure if he's going to get that with San Francisco ever. And Purdy played so much at Iowa State. I thought it was also pretty telling how when Purdy left Iowa State, they were really bad last year. When Purdy was there, they were consistently competitive when they didn't really have a competitive edge against a lot of teams in the Big 12. This quote from Kyle Shanahan on Brock Purdy, by the way, took about 3 games last year for Shanahan to see that Brock Purdy was the guy. San Francisco continues to double down and triple down on Purdy being their quarterback. And here's the quote from Shanahan from an article in this Albert Breer column. He's been the starter since last year ended. He was always clearly our starter, but there were so many questions about his injury, how he'd come back from it, that we didn't even know if he'd be ready for this year, so we had to prepare for everything else. Those guys have been competing their butts off, and I feel great playing with those guys, but like I told them, like I've said to the media, like I said to everyone since day one, based on what Brock did on tape last year, it's hard to beat that out in practice. And that's why I've said Brock Purdy has earned the right to be this team's starting quarterback. Now, if he struggles the first month of the season and San Francisco gets out of the gate slow and he continues to throw interceptions in the regular season like he's thrown in practice, in training camp, that becomes a little bit of a concern. But at the very least, to start this year, Purdy has earned the right to be this team's starter. Your level of confidence in Brock Purdy on a meter of 1 to 100 going into 2023 is what? As always, we appreciate your feedback here on the show, so make sure you go on down and let us know in the comment section. Segment number 1 of 3 is in the books. We have 323 people watching live, and here's the great news. We're only getting started here on the show. Our last segment of the show today, I want to open up the floor, and I want to hear from the faithful, the Niner Gang, the Niner Empire, and get your thoughts on Trey Lance. So start getting those thoughts in right now, whether they're comments, whether they're your evaluations, whether they're your questions, by using the hashtag Lance. Oh! Big hurt! Bang! Bang! Niner Gang! A $100 super chat. You can put him on the board. He is now in our Gold Mine Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame, baby. If Trey doesn't secure the number 2 QB spot, let's just cut our losses and trade him for anything we can get. No need to have that cap hit for a number 3 QB. And my Lance jersey can go in the what might have been pile in the back of my closet. So Okay, let's talk about Lance here, and let's make sure we include that in the mailbag too. I'll hit on this briefly, and then I want to expand on it further when we do our Trey Lance segment. So, look, Anthony Richardson today is named the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, and Anthony Richardson as a prospect coming out of Florida was so raw and is still so raw. He didn't even play that much football at Florida. Last year, his touchdown to interception ratio was 17-9. His completion percentage, Coop, correct me if I'm wrong, under 60% last year. So that's a player who needs to play right away, and the Colts are allowing him that so that they can live with some of the hurdles right now, live with the challenges that are inevitable as a rookie, because in the future, it could pay big dividends because next year, the year after that, he's going to be a more refined quarterback prospect. Here's the difference between Anthony Richardson playing for the Indianapolis Colts. C.J. Stroud is in line to start for D'Amico Ryans with the Texans, and Bryce Young is going to be the starter for the Carolina Panthers. Indianapolis Colts are a bad football team. Houston Texans are a bad football team. Carolina Panthers, bad football team. The San Francisco 49ers in 2021 were Super Bowl contenders. Now, should they have traded for Trey Lance at that point, moved 3 picks to move up to number 3 to take him? You know, revisionist history might say, no, it was an awful trade, and we'll see what ends up happening. But different scenarios for why the Niners did not start Trey Lance then. He had an opportunity. He couldn't beat out Jimmy Garoppolo. And then last year, he was going to be the team's starting quarterback, but then he got hurt. These types of things happen in the NFL. But yes, some, sections of the fan base have said the Niners should just ride with Trey Lance. They should just see. But also at the same time, this team isn't getting any older with Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, like this whole crew. And then Kyle Shanahan is feeling the pressure of needing to compete right now as well for a championship. And that's why they're going with the best quarterback on this team that gives them the best opportunity to win right now, and that is Brock Purdy. Now, does Brock Purdy have the ceiling of Trey Lance as far as his potential? No, but he's a more refined product right now that helps them win games right now. So Big Hurt, he is now a member of the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. We have Gump Wolf, Double B Studio, Black Mask, and Big Hurt. Anybody who sends in a super chat, $100 or more, you enter your name in the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. What I'm going to do, get a Niners poster, put your names on that poster, and you are a member of the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. It's the elite club here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Big Hurt, Big Hurt, Big Hurt. Everybody type BH in the chat, and here's our guy, Big Hurt. Looking awesome in the Niners man cave as well. A few Niners pillows, Niner beanie, Niner shirt, and I believe that the rug underneath the coffee table also says man cave. Big Hurt, we appreciate you. Everybody type BH in the chat. He is in the elite category of the faithful family here at Chat Sports. Words of wisdom with the 5. Rumor has it, the reason for Brock's fast recovery, they grafted some tissue from the dude's balls. Brock the Rock, baby. He knows how to ball out, and maybe that's why they call him Big Cock Brock. Words of wisdom. You never know. That 5 came in, and then Victor coming in with the $5 super chat. I've always said Lance was Bortles 2.0. We definitely wasted that pick. We should have gone for Fields instead. Trade him away while he has some value. Here's my issue with people saying that the Niners should have drafted Fields over Lance. He was 31st in completion percentage last year. He took historic sacks at a historic rate last year. So I like the potential of Justin Fields, but he's not a shoo-in to be a great player in this league either, and there are massive question marks with Justin Fields as well. So that's my issue there.
So, Chase.
Yeah.
First, words of wisdom. I saw him say, "You forgot my super chat." We got you, bro.
We got you, brother. We got you.
I hope you saw it. Second of all, one of us still has a beer bong.
Yes. Let me go get that beer bong.
You want me to pour it up for you real quick?
I got you. Let me get over to the table here. I'll get that beer bong cranking.
Guys, real quick, can we just get the 49s in the chat? Can we just get everyone to type 49 in the chat and like this video? We don't have enough people out here. We don't have enough people in the chat.
I do owe the 20 push-ups. I know.
We'll get those push-ups, too.
I'll get those.
Chug, 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 chug. Wow. That was fast.
We're tailgating. There's not even a game today.
Control-Alt-Delete.
Just got to be built different.
That was quick.
Oh, man. All right, segment number 2. Segment number 2. We're going to get into this Nick Bosa talk here. That's why a lot of people are here. Is the Nick Bosa contract situation going to cause him to miss games this year? We're going to discuss that. Coop, what'd you slack me? We're good? Cool. What up, Chip? What up, Chip? Chris, you're my boy, Chase. You're my boy, Chris. Chris, Chase, and Trace. And Coop.
Chip, Chase,
we're all here.
Trace, Coop, and Chris.
So last segment of the show, we're going to do that Trey Lance mailbag. In the meantime, interesting stuff from Albert Breer on the Niners potentially believing that Brock Purdy can be the guy for the next decade. Also, though, Nick Bosa contract update. That's coming your way right now on the San Francisco 49ers report. Let me just scroll down and make sure we're all good.
What up, Joseph?
Joseph. What's up, Chase and Trizzy? What's up, Joseph? Good to hear from you. Lord Body Bear is in the house. What up, party people? Everybody type LBB. He is a Raiders fan, but he's also a real one here at Chat Sports who does a great job of supporting everything that we do. And the movement, the train that is moving in a momentous fashion, that is Chat Sports. All right. So, no, you can go presented by when I do the read. Still can do that. Yep. So, coming up next, Nick Bosa update, and then that Albert Breer column on Brock Purdy and Trey Lance. That's our next segment here on the show. Sit back, relax like Black Mask with a cigar and a whiskey, and continue to hang out with us live on the 49ers Report. Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, an NFL insider with a really interesting report on the Nick Bosa contract situation, and could the differences between him and his side with his agent and the San Francisco 49ers cause him to miss regular season games? Very interesting stuff on that front. We're going to unpack it. Also, we're going to talk Brock Purdy as well as Trey Lance. An interesting column from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, who actually sat down with Kyle Shanahan. And did the San Francisco 49ers believe that they have their guy in Brock Purdy for the next decade? All of that coming your way on today's show. First, though, a programming reminder. Another watch party coming your way on Saturday as the San Francisco 49ers play host to the Denver Broncos in Week 2 of the preseason. Game time is set for 8:30 p.m. Eastern and 5:30 p.m. on the West Coast. Our watch party starts with an hour pregame show like we did last week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on your notifications. Therefore, when we do go live and whenever we go live, you will be notified. Before we take a look at all of this, today's show is sponsored by RexMD, the #1 leader in men's telehealth. You can see for yourself at rexmd.com/chat. This is for all my fellas out there. Do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life? Well, you're not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. Shout out Big Cock Brock. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made right here in the great USA. So you can trust its quality for sure because of that. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat. Start your consultation today and take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. That's rexmd.com/chat. Limited time deal. Viagra or Cialis are now available for our listeners and viewers to get started. That's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. As for this Nick Bosa update, that's why a lot of you are here. Let's break it down because this is obviously fascinating, very interesting, and I'm curious about it for a couple of reasons. According to an NFL insider, Nick Bosa's contract situation could linger into the start of the regular season and cause him to miss some games this year. This coming from Tony Pauline. He said the situation with Nick Bosa and Chris Jones is more complicated and likely will not be resolved anytime soon. Sources say there's been very little communication between the player representatives and their respective teams. Both Bosa and Jones are looking for a contract that would match or exceed the deal signed by Aaron Donald, a future Hall of Famer. Donald signed a 3-year, $95 million contract last year, $30 million, which will be paid out this season. Sources tell me the Bosa situation could last a while, and it's not out of the question that the 3-time Pro Bowler could miss the start of the season due to the contract dispute. Now, here on the show, we've talked about that Aaron Donald deal plenty. Nick Bosa deserves to be the highest paid defender in the history of the NFL. And Chris Jones has an argument, too, by the way, for why he should make more money than Aaron Donald. They play the same position. Chris Jones is younger. He's helped the Kansas City Chiefs win 2 Super Bowls. And last year, honestly, no cap, I think that Chris Jones was better than Aaron Donald. But I find this hard to believe for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, the Niners' Super Bowl hopes partially hinge on Nick Bosa being productive, Nick Bosa being there, and Nick Bosa being healthy. They are not the same team without Nick Bosa. Outside of quarterback, if I were to construct a football team, I honestly think edge rusher might be the next most important position for me. And then after that or before that, it could be offensive tackle. So you're talking about an impact player who's elite, arguably the best pure edge rusher and pass rusher in the National Football League, who's still entering his prime, who the last 2 years has combined for 18.5 sacks and 15.5 sacks, more than any player in the NFL, who's already won Defensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. He's that special. Reason number two parlays off of reason number one. The San Francisco 49ers cannot let money get in the way of not paying Nick Bosa what he deserves, what he's earned, which could then in turn impact wins and losses at the end of the day. If the 49ers take the field against the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are a dramatically worse team without Nick Bosa as compared to Bosa being on the field. And if it comes down to a few $1 million of a contractual dispute, pay the man his money, because as the NFL salary cap continues to rise, this deal, if Bosa continues to stay healthy and as productive as he's been the last 2 years, isn't going to look as expensive as it will be upon putting pen to paper. And number three, parlays off of number two. John Lynch has had a year to prepare for this. John Lynch, this team's general manager, has said verbatim, Nick Bosa is budgeted for. And after he won Defensive Player of the Year and turned in 18.5 sacks, you had to have known he was going to demand money somewhere in the neighborhood of Aaron Donald, and you had to have known that the leverage was on his side with his agent of wanting to become the highest paid defensive player in the history of the National Football League. Number four, San Francisco has known that this Bosa deal was going to be lofty just because of his dominance, him winning Defensive Player of the Year. The fact that Aaron Donald got that deal when he was a much older player. Nick Bosa, ladies and gentlemen, got drafted in 2019. So he's still in his mid-20s and has a lot of great years left at a position that you can flourish at for a really long time. And then reason number five, this feels like an agent leverage play to up the pressure from Nick Bosa's representation to San Francisco to try to get a deal done as soon as possible. Nick Bosa loves getting in the lab. Nick Bosa loves football. Nick Bosa is the guy who addresses this team every single Saturday right before games. He loves the game of football. He loves perfecting his craft. He loves the grind. That's why he's always in great shape. That's why he's a pass rush technician. That's why Mike McDaniel made the joke that Nick Bosa will walk up to a water jug and use a pass rush combination on a water jug because he's always thinking about ball. He loves ball. So an agent, and this happens a lot, can go to a reporter and say, this is what we're thinking if you want to report this. If this contract doesn't get done, we're not scared to hold out for Nick Bosa to miss some games. At the end of the day, though, I would not be concerned. San Francisco would be delusional and dumb to let Nick Bosa miss time in the regular season. That's how important he is to this team's success. We're going to talk about Brock Purdy and Trey Lance coming up around the corner. First, though, are you hitting the panic button on Bosa? Just give me a Y for yes or an N for no. And I'll tell you this, I don't care where I am. Whenever Bosa signs that extension, we're going live here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. That's why you subscribe and turn on your notifications so that you can join us. Is Brock Purdy the man for San Francisco for a decade? Reporting from Albert Breer takes a look at why the Niners believe in Brock Purdy. And if they think that Brock Purdy is the guy for the next decade, the question becomes, what does it all mean for the future of Trey Lance? Let's dive into this. Let's dissect it. Let's take a look at the fine details here. So Albert Breer with this column on Brock Purdy. He sat down with Kyle Shanahan this past week, and Kyle Shanahan and this Niners regime, they clearly believe that Brock Purdy can be this team's starting quarterback for a long while here. They believe in Purdy for a variety of reasons. How he's able to process, how he played last year. They think that Brock Purdy is a really special player. And Albert Breer said something along the lines of Purdy just being this team's starting quarterback for a long time. And here is the portion of his column. Outside this building, there are a ton of questions about whether San Francisco has done enough to service the rest of a loaded team with the best option at the most important position on the field. Inside the Niners organization, that doubt really does not exist. In fact, if you ask those who work in Santa Clara, the idea that Purdy could be Kyle Shanahan's guy for the next decade is not out of the question, which says plenty about where they stand. Whoa is my first reaction to that. You hear the next decade, that's a really long time. Shanahan's already been this team's head coach since 2017. Brock Purdy has a very limited sample size, although I will say that when he was on the field last year, he was impressive with his processing, getting rid of the ball quickly, the moxie, the swagger, the leadership, the confidence that he has, the improvisational ability to make plays out of structure. He's a better athlete than I thought. I think he's quicker than Trey Lance when trying to escape some of that pressure and is a little bit more creative and explosive in trying to buy time to throw the football. I was actually underwhelmed with Trey Lance's lack of explosion during Sunday's game against the Raiders. Yes, I understand that he's coming off that ankle surgery, but even last year and the year before that, I was like, isn't this guy supposed to be a running threat who can get to the outside? Kind of struggles to do that, which is why San Francisco runs a lot of that power option. But the accuracy, the anticipation, the touch on some of the plays from Purdy, and how he just kind of processes and runs this offense, it's impressive. So clearly San Francisco sees that, and they think that he can help this team win. But the guy for the next decade, we're talking about, in that instance, a franchise quarterback. So with that, you think about a 10-year sample size, right? What were you doing 10 years ago? Where were you in life? How old were you? Where were you living? I think back to 2013, I had just went to Temple University. It was my third college because my grades sucked out of high school. I went to a community college. I went to Millersville University in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, got my grades up, transferred to Temple because I wanted to study broadcasting there. And I think about me as a person 10 years ago, that's crazy. I was a shell of myself. I was a different cat. What were you doing 10 years ago? Let me know. Hop in that time machine. Here's how Kyle Shanahan responded to Albert Breer and talking about that 10-year timeline. That's a big statement. especially when you say a decade. The games Brock played in, he played at as high of a level as you could ask for, as consistent of a level as you can ask for. Hell yeah, you can win with that, and you can be very happy with that. That was 7 full games. There's a lot that goes into it, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we played good enough in those games to say that we were going with him this year. And yes, Brock Purdy won 2 playoff games as a rookie, and if he didn't get hurt in the NFC Championship game, does that game play out differently? And is this story a little bit different? And you think about what Shanahan has said about Purdy. He's the real deal. He's called him his guy. He's kind of hitching his wagon to a certain degree to Purdy going into year 2. Now, as part of this conversation, you, of course, have to have this conversation. What does this mean for Trey Lance? It's hard to envision him having a future here. The next 2 years, Trey Lance has a cap hit of more than $9 million. And if he loses this QB2 battle to Sam Darnold, are you really going to pay that much money for a QB3 this year and or next year? I understand Sam Darnold only signed a 1-year deal, but with Trey Lance, is he ever going to get an opportunity to play for this football team? Is he ever going to get an opportunity to show and showcase the skills that the Niners saw in him when they visited North Dakota State? And they saw what they needed to see in order to move up to take him at number 3. Clearly, it's become apparent that Trey Lance needs a lot of work, a lot of experience, a lot of reps. But with the team that's ready to win a Super Bowl right now, can they afford to give him those repetitions? Or is he going to be a late bloomer like Steve Young, where they continue to hold on to him and they're willing to invest in a guy at the league's most important position in hopes that at some point down the road he can be that cat? I find it doubtful that Trey Lance is ever going to get an opportunity with the Niners, and that's why I've said for his benefit, why don't you just trade him, get something back, and allow him to start anew if he's not even going to be your guy? Feel free to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. It's the same handle on both. Please don't be a stranger. Slide in the DMs. It's been a blast to be able to chop it up with the faithful. Look forward to hearing from you. All right. Good stuff. Who else is in the building? More than 300 people watching live. Great audience today. Thanks to everybody who's decided to kick it here with us. Scarecrow, I'm so high on life. Okay. Tony saying, what up, John Wallace? King Mufasa, Purdy's the real deal. Dave Zobel, great work, Chase. Thank you so much. We're not worthy. Black Mask with another $10 super chat. You know what's cool? You guys give shout-outs to people who just send a live chat. That's effing awesome. Bang, bang, Niner gang. I cure my ED with sleeping with different women. Nice.
Great success.
You can do it with RexMD as well. You know what I'll say is that Black Mask is a very creative guy who kind of has that comedic element to him, like a stand-up comic.
For sure.
And I
love
like
Black
it.
Mask. He's a funny dude.
I like it. Use hashtag Lance to talk about Lance. We're going to do a Trey Lance-specific mailbag where you can relay your comments, your thoughts, your evaluations, your questions about Lance down in the chat right now, and we'll get you featured on the show. Trace, what I want you to do is, because I've done those 2 beer bongs, I have to pee like a racehorse right now. So I want you to give shout-outs to the people, pop yourself on screen. I'm going to use the bathroom. I'll come back, do those 20 push-ups, then we'll do that Trey Lance mailbag.
What's up, faithful? How we doing? You get your questions, hashtag Lance. We want to talk about Trey Lance. But I also want to know, what were y'all doing 10 years ago? 10 years ago for me, I was in middle school. How old am I? 23? Yeah. No, I'm 24. Wait. Yeah, I'm 24. I'm 24. I was 14. I'm pretty sure I'm 24. I was 14. I was in middle school playing football for the Rice Ravens. Your boy was a center, defensive end, tight end, linebacker, quarterback, head coach, assistant coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, water boy, owner, manager, coach. I'm like Jackie Moon. Lord Buddy Bear, you still chatting it up with Sloan? Actually, no. No, I'm not. Got a new girl. Got a new old girl. That's what they're saying. You're making everyone feel old. Yeah, okay. I feel old too. What's up, Chase? You're always on point. Chase is always on point. He knows ball. He knows what he's talking about. Remove Scarecrow. He says, don't censor me. I don't believe in media censorship. I am a firm believer in freedom of speech, so unless you're saying something absolutely ridiculous in the chat, I'm not muting anybody. Or unless you're spamming it like nobody's business, I'm not doing that. But I'm a big free speech guy. Media censorship is BS. Well, somebody was like, don't censor me. I'm a Raiders fan or whatever. And I was like, dog, it's not that serious. Yeah, it was like, it's YouTube, dog. You can say what you want. One thing about us, we are not Charmin Ultra Soft like some YouTube channels.
How about you want to put the webcam on me? I'll do these 20 push-ups
I got you,
here.
boy.
20 push-ups for the 20 that came in earlier from Elvin.
Elvin! One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And yes, he's doing push-ups and sandals.
Yeah, I'm a
Good
shoebie
move.
today.
It's an elite move.
I ran this morning. My feet were beat up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wear these recovery slides right quick.
Sandals at work.
Hey, you just got to look good up top sometimes. You know, you're on camera. That's what I'm doing. What'd you say?
Unless you're
Look good
Zemeckis.
upstairs and look good downstairs. You know what I'm saying?
I mean.
You know what I'm saying?
So funny.
Oh, man. All right. I know we have a lot of Lance comments in the chat. Let's show them the Super Chat menu one more time there, Triz. Here's our Super Chat menu. That's why I was doing push-ups. 20. We'll do 20 push-ups. $10 or more, you get to sign the lunch pail. All Super Chats, of course, get a shout-out. 50, beer bong. $100 or more, we have a new member of the Goldmine Hall of Fame. It is Big Hurt. He sent us in a $100 Super Chat a little bit earlier. And I started this during Sunday's watch party. This is a new movement here on the show. The Goldmine Hall of Fame. Anybody all year who sends in $100 or more on a single solo Super Chat, you get on the Goldmine Hall of Fame. Gump Wolf, Double B Studio, Black Mask, and Big Hurt. Gump Wolf, the winner of our Niners helmet giveaway during Sunday's watch party. And all of these people, real OGs. Trace did say he really wants to party with Double B Studio. So Double B Studio, if you're here, Trace wants to party with you, and Trey Lance.
Double B, I bet we could throw back some brews like nobody's business.
No doubt.
We could sling some yings.
Yeah. I mean, you see us on the watch parties. We've drank 15 to 20 beers each during some of these watch parties. I also have to put Big Hurt on the lunch pail, too, so we'll do that.
Keep using hashtag Lance to get on the show, guys. Ask your questions. Give a hot take. The hotter, the better.
You already know. We're at 240 in Super Chats for today's show. We're not worthy, but I'll tell you what, we appreciate it so much. You and your support of the program here. Last segment. Let's just open up the floor and talk about Trey Lance. The Faithful Talks Trey Lance. That's coming up right now live on the San Francisco 49ers Report. The Faithful Talks Trey Lance. That's what we're doing on today's San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. I just want to take your questions, take your Super Chats, also go through some of your evaluations, some of your comments on Trey Lance after what was an up-and-down performance from him in Sunday's preseason opener against the Las Vegas Raiders. And I want to do this because obviously he's important to the success of this franchise. San Francisco drafted him number 3 overall. The yield on investment hasn't been there. Some people are concerned that he's going to be a bust, or they're worried that he needs all of this experience. He's not going to get it with this team, and what does that mean for his future? So we're uncovering everything and we're allowing the fan base to really steal the show here because that's what we do here on the channel because we always appreciate what you have to say. Big Hurt sent us in a $100 super chat during our live show. Hall of Fame, baby. He's now in our Goldmine Hall of Fame. Anybody who sends us $100 or more, you enter the Goldmine Hall of Fame. You can do that if you're watching this after the fact with a super thanks as well. It's the heart icon with the $ through it. If Trey Lance does not secure the number 2 quarterback spot, let's just cut our losses and trade him for anything that we can get. No need to have that cap hit for a number 3 quarterback, and my Lance jersey can go in the what might have been pile in the back of my closet. So I see where you're coming from with Lance. Look, he's in year 3. The Niners have a very big decision to make after this year about whether or not to exercise his 5th-year option. If they exercise his 5th-year option, that means that Lance is under team control for the next 2 years, for 2024 and for 2025. But with that comes a massive investment, and I doubt that they make that investment in a player if Brock Purdy plays well this year, or if they want to go after a Kirk Cousins, or if they really fall in love with Sam Darnold. They're not going to be able to afford to really wait this out in a Steve Young type of trajectory where he bloomed later on in his football life. There is a little bit of pressure to find out what he is right now because of the future investment at play, but also you have a Super Bowl contending roster right now. And for Lance, if you're paying for him to be the number 3 quarterback with the cap at the next 2 years of $9+ million, from a team-building standpoint, when you're paying a lot of big money to other players, and a Brandon Ayuk contract extension could be coming up next year, as well as a Talanoa Hufanga, you need to improve this offensive line in the future. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And if he doesn't work out for San Francisco, Big Hurt, you're right. What may have been? What would have happened if the Niners just rode with him year 1 and dealt with some of the inevitable challenges that would have come with him being an inexperienced player? We might not ever know, and that's why this is so fascinating. Victor with the $5 donation, thank you so much. I've always said that Lance was Blake Bortles 2.0. We definitely wasted that pick. We should have gone for Fields instead. Trade him away while he has some value. So, look, I understand that Justin Fields was a member of this draft class, and the Niners wouldn't have had to trade up for Justin Fields. They could have stayed put. They wouldn't have had to trade away 3 picks to take him. But even Justin Fields has some really big question marks. Justin Fields was 31st in completion percentage last year, and he has really struggled at moments his first 2 years. Now, he has not had the same offensive line help that the Niners have had over the last 2 years. He hasn't had anywhere close to the same amount of weapons that San Francisco has had. But Justin Fields took sacks last year at a historic rate, despite having a lot of time to throw the football. His accuracy is an issue where Justin Fields completed 60% of his passes last year and was 31st in completion percentage. So Blake Bortles 2.0, we'll see, but Blake Bortles did play well for a year. That's why he got the bag. Oh, Buddy Bear, a $100 super chat. Bang, bang, Niner gang. And how about this? Can a Raider fan get on your Hall of Fame? I missed the game on Sunday. Looking forward to the Giants game in the regular season. Marsh was talking smack on Raider fans yesterday, so I hope we destroy the Giants. Good luck with your season. I was a Jerry Rice fan as a kid. Wow. Lord Buddy Bear, thank you so much for that. I'm going to react further to it once I get out of this cut because we're live right now. Lord Buddy Bear, really appreciate you, brother. Much love. John Wallace with the $10 super chat. 10 years ago, I was working, my brother, living in a van on crack cocaine, but God kept me to save me for better things, to help others. Trey needs a fresh start, somewhere that can take time. Steve. So, John Wallace, that's an incredible story, and for those of you who don't understand the context there, we, on our live show, talked about this report from Albert Breer. He talked to some people in the building in Santa Clara, and some people believe that Brock Purdy can be Kyle Shanahan's guy for the next decade. So I posed the question, what was everybody doing 10 years ago, just because it's interesting to see where people are coming from? And how about John Wallace's story here? Everybody type JW down in the comment section, because he's overcome some adversity, and he's become a great guy, and he's become a valuable member of the faithful family here at Chat Sports. So glad that God kept you around and you had that will to succeed in life. As for Trey, he needs a fresh start. He might need a fresh start. And somewhere where he can go, where he can get a lot more playing time to work out some of the kinks that come with him not playing a lot of football. He has thrown just over 100 passes going into year 3 in the NFL. Going back to his entire career at North Dakota State, he's barely thrown more than 400 passes in a live setting. And now, Niners, Super Bowl ready roster, the difference between him and Purdy, you might say, well, Brock Purdy's going into year 2. He also played a lot at Iowa State. That's the difference there. So with that, we toss up our poll question for today's show. Will Lance ever get a chance with the San Francisco 49ers? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Let me know down below in the comment section here and let us know what you think about Lance's future in the Bay. Draco Pimpin, another one of our real ones. I feel like Trey has never gotten the support, the help, or the love that he should have, and I hope if he does get traded, he becomes a top 10 quarterback. If Lance leaves the Bay, I'll be rooting for him. And while this is a conversation, right? It's so loaded. Multiple things can be true. He was a little bit too raw and maybe too inexperienced than what the Niners had anticipated. Maybe he didn't have as much athleticism as the Niners hoped. Maybe he wasn't the player that the Niners envisioned him being. That's on San Francisco for getting that evaluation wrong, taking him at number 3, passing on a Mac Jones or a Justin Fields, and trading away the picks to get him. That's on San Francisco. At the same time, yeah, you're right. Like, he might not be the player that the Niners thought he was going to be, but he may have not gotten the support that he needed mentally, confidence-wise, to fully unlock himself as an individual player and as an athlete. I will say, San Francisco, they did give him an opportunity to start last year, and he got hurt in week 2. Broken ankle, out for the rest of the year. Unfortunately, that's the harsh reality of the NFL. But after this past season, John Lynch was asked, are you going to trade Trey Lance? He didn't completely shut it down. What does that do for a young player? Doesn't instill a lot of confidence. And in that regard, it's not like San Francisco has done a lot to give him a lot of confidence, which is clearly what he needs right now because I think he's suffering from a lack of it. The I3. How are we comparing Purdy with the starters to Lance and the backups? Can we see Purdy behind the backup offensive line and no skill players in the preseason? I see what you're saying. And Kyle Shanahan did speak with the media on Monday, and he was asked about the sacks that Trey Lance took. And he said, some were on him, some were on the offensive line. I went back and I watched the film, and anytime somebody watches film, they can disagree. The first 2 sacks for Lance, I thought were on him. And the third one, he had to read a shot right down the center of the field. He didn't take it. It was actually on an out route toward the sideline. He could have thrown that ball there. That was NFL open. The first 2 sacks, this is what I saw. First play of the game, 3-step drop. He's looking at Chris Conley. And before Chris Conley comes out of his break, you have an opportunity to throw that ball before the DB crashes on that play. Now, Trey Lance looked at Chris Conley. He saw him. He didn't pull the trigger. And on a play that is designed to have a 3-step drop, the offensive line is not built to protect for more than 3-4 seconds because it's a 3-step drop. So the offensive line doesn't want to step on Trey Lance. They can't hold up in protection all that long. It's up to the quarterback to get rid of it. The second sack was 2 plays later from that first play. It was a 3rd down in which Lance looked at Ross Dwelly. He was in between 2 DBs. He could have thrown that ball in there right at the sticks. Instead, he double clutched. Chris Conley also went up the sideline. Lance could have dropped that ball in there potentially. That's another read. So that's an example of where Lance could have made a throw. He didn't. He was indecisive, didn't pull the trigger, and because of that, the protection broke down because of the design of the play. That's not on the offensive line necessarily. That's on the quarterback because the play is designed for him to get the ball out quickly. It's a loaded conversation. Purdy does a better job of getting the ball out quickly and is more decisive as compared to Lance being indecisive. Loaded conversation. Wanted to break that down for you. Ernesto, if Lance is traded, which team do you think would pick him up? There are really two teams right now who have big quarterback questions. Atlanta Falcons with Desmond Ridder and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Those are the two teams that come to mind. A team in the future that could make sense is the Minnesota Vikings. Lance is from Minnesota. They didn't extend Kirk Cousins this offseason. A lot of traction, a lot of buzz behind Kirk Cousins maybe coming to the Niners next year if Brock Purdy doesn't work out because of his relationship with Kyle Shanahan. There, he'd be able to go to Minnesota, take some time to develop, and then next year become the guy once Kirk Cousins does depart. Can Lance ever turn into a top-tier quarterback? We're going to round out the show with this question. Type E for you think he's going to be elite, A for average, B for bad, faithful. Thanks for chiming in, being a part of the show. Chime in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section right now. All right, a little bit of a different segment there, but it was good to be able to focus in on a specific topic right there. We're up to $350 in Super Chats. I did not see this happening. And let's do this for Lord Buddy Bear. Bang! Bang! Finnegang! Buddy Bear. Whoa! Buddy Bear. Whoa! Buddy Bear. Whoa! How about him supporting the show, supporting the cause? Buddy Bear, you're an OG and an absolute legend. We've been able to add a couple of new people to the Gold Mine Hall of Fame, and I'm going to put Buddy Bear here on the lunch pail, and LBB is going on the lunch pail for our guy, Lord Buddy Bear. Appreciate it, Buddy Bear. Aaron Magana saying, great show. Thank you so much. I think we're all caught up. I don't have to do push-ups. We did our beer bongs for the 50. Sergio, how's it going? Can I ask you a question? Is Brock Purdy going to be in the MVP conversation? I think that's a little bit too lofty. A little bit too lofty to talk about Purdy being in the MVP conversation. I'm good, Chris. I'm good. Only 2 beer bongs, man. I'm good. Black Mask said, what? What do you mean, Black Mask? Updated the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. You want to move that back to the graphic sheet, by the way? Gump Wolf, Double B Studio, Black Mask, Big Hurt, Lord Buddy Bear, all members of the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. If you want to be a member of the Gold Mine Hall of Fame, you send in a $100 super chat, you will become a member of the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. That's an individual $100 super chat to be in the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. I'm going to get a Niners poster, and all throughout this year, everybody who sends in a super chat, $100 or more, enters the Gold Mine Hall of Fame. That's the exclusive club right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. So really appreciate all the support from everybody here. I appreciate the support from everybody who just tunes into the show and doesn't donate, because you watching the show still supports what we do. Chase, you should come to Vegas, or should have came to Vegas. Yeah, we thought about it, man. Myself and Mitch, who hosts the Raiders Report, we thought about trying to get there. It just becomes hard because for our watch parties, there are such great opportunities to make money, grow the channel, and give the people some great coverage. But I would have loved to have gone to some of the joint practices for sure. And hopefully at some point I can start to go to some of these training camp sessions, because it just helps us give you even better analysis than what we already give you. All right, let's do this. Oh, Black Mask. Yes, Lord Buddy Bear is on the Hall of Fame because he sent in a $100 super chat. Let's do this. We'll stay live and kick it if y'all want. If not, all good. We'll give you 2 minutes to send in a super chat. If not, we're going to sign off and call it a day. It's been a great show today. Nah, we're good. It's been a great day today. Awesome show. 3 great segs. Great audience interaction. I did not envision the super chats taking off like they did today, but shoot.
Still time to party.
Humbles us.
Still time to party.
Niners Report happy hour. I think Trace hasn't done a beer bong.
I'm thirsty.
So he's thirsty.
I'm a thirsty son
Another
of a gun.
50 gets us to 400, and that could be a beer bong for Trizzy.
I would love that.
Lore, why is Lance holding the ball too long? He's just unsure of himself. He's not sure what he's seeing. I think the game is moving a little bit too fast, and like I said, he's a little bit indecisive. 1 minute into our super chat shot clock. You want us to stay live, send in a super. We'll reset the clock. If not, all good. But I will say, if we get to 400 with the 50, Trace will do a beer bong. As for some of the latest Niners news, Brock Purdy took a heavy workload during what was a busy week. Jake Moody drilled 2 50-plus yard field goals at Niners practice today, went 5 of 6, only miss 60-plus yards. Got to make it in a real game at this point. Let's see. That's about it. 10 seconds left on the Super Chat shot clock. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1. We'll give you about a 20-second delay because sometimes people do watch on delay.
Chris wants me to do a chug for the boys. $50 and I'm chugging for the lads.
$50 and Trace is chugging for the boys. That's what we said, Chris. That's what we said. Black Mask has already done his part. Big Hurt did his part. Buddy Bear did his part. We had Words of Wisdom, John Wallace, Victor, and Elvin all doing their part. Black Mask, peace.
Peace.
All right, we're going to sign off. Draco, you're good, bro. You're good. Like I said, people liking the video, commenting, subscribing, tuning in, that subscribes, or that supports the show, excuse me. Johnny Royal, great show. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. I'm thinking live show on Friday as well, just because it's fun to talk Niners with everybody. So be on the lookout for that. Either way, we'll be live on Saturday for the preseason game against the Denver Broncos. Another watch party coming your way. Tracker, Chase, you're the GOAT. What's an ideal trade that you can see to happen with the offensive line? Maybe trade a linebacker or a backup defensive lineman. Trade Jawan Jennings to a wide receiver needy team because you're not going to re-sign him after this year. Those are possibilities. So that's a trade maybe to address that offensive line. Scarecrow said, see y'all Saturday. Watch party. We'll see y'all there. Thanks for watching the show. Appreciate all the support. We'll catch you next time here on the Niners Report.